Hi, so I wanted to share some interesting things that I learned while comparing the US, India, and China. These are the lowest monthly minimum wage. So we have about three times higher than China. China has about three times higher than India, but China is slightly more favorable. We have about proportional population densities as well. So we have about a third of the population density is China. China has about a third of the population density of India. But again, China's slightly more favorable than India. So I was wondering about that, and I was like, maybe they spend more on education. They don't. They spend less on education. We spend the most, and I was like, maybe it's the military. And no, they spend less on of their proportional GDP on the military than India does. Um, and we spend the most on both of those. um, I guess we can afford it comparatively. Um, and then I was like, maybe it's the number of people working in agriculture, and we have such a huge lead on them. We only have 2.25% of the population working in agriculture, and like India has 42%. Um, and so I also compared the fossil fuel use. Maybe it's because we're doing all these tractors. And each country uses about the same quantity of fossil fuels, but it's divided amongst their population. So we get a slightly better deal. We get to use it on tractors. We get to make more money off of our tractors, and it's faster for us to grow food and then sell it to somewhere else than it is for them to grow their own food without tractors. So that's kind of why we have like more textile manufacturing overseas. And that got me wondering, why is India's population so high? And so I looked up the historical records. It's always been really high. It's always been a huge portion of the world's population. And the explanation they gave was that it was just really easy to grow food in that area. They call it a cradle of civilization. The dirt is really good, and so is the sunlight. So their population has grown slower than the rest of the world. It's just they had a huge portion of the world to begin with because it's so easy to live there. They can survive without tractors just fine. And then, of course, that got me thinking, what if we divided all of the world's GDP equally among everybody? What would that end up being? And we're always talking about the billionaires, how they're taking up too much, but the world GDP is about $106.2 trillion. World population is 8.2. And then, so if we divide the annual GDP among every person, they get about, let's round up to 13,000 per year. If we turn that into a 40-hour work week hourly, that's $6.45. The average tax rate worldwide is 15%, so let's remove that. That gets us down to $45.48 per hour, but only about 46% of the world is employed, because there's children, elderly, and disabled people. And I even asked, hey, what about all the people who are off the books? They included that. And so, an hour of labor actually worked worldwide, if we were being totally equal and fair in the traditional sense, it would be about $12 per hour. A lot of us get more than that. Like here in Seattle, you're not legally allowed to work for less than like $17 an hour, let's say. And then we have like a ton of people getting like $50 an hour. And we have a ninth of the population density as India. But Almost everyone I know insists that their life is terrible. Yeah, I've never had to work on a farm. Almost nobody I know has had to work on a farm. I've had like 1,000 coworkers. Maybe one guy talked about his prior work experience working on a farm. In general, tractors seem like a good thing, and the more of them we have, the better off everybody is. But it does explain a lot of the U.S.'s dependence on fossil fuels, and I looked up whether or not it would be feasible to make like solar tractors, and it's sort of not, but if we had them, it'd be really cool. It's just a really slow source of energy comparatively to crude oil. And it seems like money is somewhat tied to how much credit you have accepted for tractors existing in the world. So if you cook a meal and sell it to someone who manufactures tractors, you get more than if you sell it to people who manufacture fabrics. There's definitely a few missing pieces to this puzzle, but this is all stuff I definitely didn't know, and I've been online for like 20 years, every day, all day. And the media benefits somewhat from saying that military is more important, or even that education is more important, but apparently it's oil and population density, I guess. I mean, we can totally afford more population density, it's just we get less money somehow.